My name is Ryan. I'm 27 years old, and on Christmas Eve, Arsene Ling Arser War. I made a wish I never thought would come true. Kel, I wished. I wasn't alone anymore. Didn't say, but let me take you back 3 months. To September when everything changed. Yelia, Gemby I was living in Burlington, Vermont. A contractor by trade, decent at my job, terrible at relationships. My days were simple. Wake up, fix someone's broken sink, go home to an empty apartment, microwave dinner, scroll through my phone until I fell asleep. Repeat, I'd been doing this for 2 years. Ever since my last relationship ended, And honestly, I'd gotten used to the loneliness. Can't tell you, until she moved in next door. Her name was Natalie, 38 years old, divorced, an architect who just relocated from Boston, The first time I saw her was on a Saturday morning in early September. Binja, I was carrying my toolbox to my truck when I heard someone struggling with boxes. Monalale, she was trying to balance 3 cardboard boxes while unlocking her door. One slipped. I caught it. Sally, thank you, she said, barely looking at me. Exhausted, guarded, no problem. You just move in? Yeah. Yesterday. Preisdolt, welcome to the building, I said, handing her the box. I'm Ryan. I'm in San B, Dinda. She finally looked at me, and I really looked at Dark's eyes, tired but sharp, like she'd seen too much of life already. Natalie? She said, we send see. Cute, and that was it. She went inside. And I couldn't stop thinking about her for the rest of the day. A week passed, I'd see her in the hallway sometimes. We'd nod, small talk, weather, parking spots. Then, one Thursday evening, she knocked on my door. Kel, I opened it. Band, she was in sweatpants and an oversized sweater, hair tied back, glasses sliding down her nose. Hey, she said. I hate to bother you, but do you know anything about water heaters? I smiled. I fixed them for a living. Mesdrel, Lilish in her face, for a second, relaxed. Really? Because mine just died, and I have a big meeting tomorrow, and I really need a shower, and… Say no more, I said. Let me grab my tools. Danta. Her apartment was different, clean, minimal, but cold, like she hadn't decided if she was staying yet. Blue prawns on the dining table. A single coffee mug in the sink. No photos, no personal touches. You travel light, I said, kneeling by the water heater. Easier that way, she replied. I didn't push. 40 minutes later, the water heater was running again. How much do I owe you? She asked, pulling out her wallet. Nothing, I said. We're neighbors. Dondel, she looked at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. Ryan, I can pay you, Dondel. I know. But you don't have to. Really, Didanda, Dikanyile. She put her wallet away slowly. Thank you, she said quietly. And for the first time she smiled, not a big smile, just a crack in the armor. Anytime, I said. Lion. I left. Baines, but as I walked back to my apartment, I realized something. For the first time in 2 years, I didn't feel invisible. After that night, things shifted. She'd text me if something broke, a loose cabinet hinge, a stuck window. I'd come over, fix it, we'd talk. At first it was surface level stuff. Work. Vermont weather. The best coffee shop downtown. But then, that one October evening, I was fixing her kitchen faucet. She was sitting at the counter, laptop open, but not really working. Just watching me. Can I ask you something? She said suddenly. Sure, do you like what you do being a contractor? I thought about it, Yeah, I said. I like fixing things, making something broken. Work again feels good. She nodded slowly. I used to feel that way about architecture, she said. You were designing spaces, creating something from nothing. Die? Yiddle? Used to? Carefully, yeah, she said quietly. Used to Dally and I didn't ask why. But that night after I left, she texted me. Yo, it just said, yo, thank you for not asking. You down die playing de danda. Yo, I replied. Yo, anytime, Judy Dell. Yo, that's when I knew. This wasn't just neighborly kindness anymore. We started spending more time together. Coffee on Saturday mornings, walks around the lake. She'd tell me about Boston, her marriage, how it fell apart. I'd tell her about my parents, how they died when I was 19, how I'd been floating ever since. One night in late October, we were sitting on her balcony. It was cold. She'd made tea. Oh, Ryan, she said, staring out at the city lights. Yeah, do you ever feel like you were born in the wrong decade? Yelling up for sincere petitress. Yawn. I laughed. All the time. Dondila? She smiled. Really smiled. Huh? Me too, she whispered. And right there I felt it, yelling something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. By November we were inseparable. But there was something we hadn't talked about. The age difference, 11 years. I didn't care. But I could see it in her eyes sometimes, the doubt, the fear, And then Thanksgiving happened. LeCant, her sister, came to visit for Thanksgiving. Rachel, 42. Married, 2 kids, the opposite of Natalie in every way. I met her briefly in the hallway. She looked me up and down. You're the neighbor, she said. No. Yeah. Ryan, Donnie, and Rachel, cold handshake. Natalie's told me about you. Dally, I smiled politely and left. But that night, Tep, I heard them through the walls. Dalian, Natalie, seriously? He's what, 25? Oh, 27? Dined. Oh, 27. My mistake. That makes it totally normal, Dezendo. Rachel, you're almost 40, Nat. 40. What are you doing? Condoled us. I don't know, Natalie said quietly, but I'm happy. Denone for how long? A year too. Then what? He's going to want kids, a future, stop, Dondel, I'm just saying, you've been through enough. Don't set yourself up for another heartbreak, did La Union. I turned off my TV. Sat in the dark. And for the first time, I wondered if she was right. The next morning, Natalie knocked on my door. Her eyes were red, Can we talk? She said. My stomach dropped. Yeah, come in, Dadlo. She sat on my couch. Hooch. Hands folded, silent. Natalie. Ryan, I need to ask you something, she interrupted. Where do you see this going? Quandolklet. I sat next to her, honestly, I said, She nodded. I don't know, I admitted. I don't have some 10-year plan. I don't know if we'll work out, Didando. Her face fell. But I continued, I know that when I'm with you, I don't feel alone. And I haven't felt that way in years, doll. She looked at me, tears in her eyes. I'm scared, she whispered. Of what? Doesn't it, that you'll wake up one day and realize you wasted your 20s on someone too old for you. Quonstal, I took her hand, Natally. Natally, I said. You're not too old, you're just you. And I don't want to be anywhere else. Dilio, she cried. I held her. Swursus saniforus species, the performzings per se pes. And we sat there until the sun went down. December came fast. The doubts didn't disappear overnight, but we kept showing up for each other. Christmas Eve arrived. Ma'am's snow was falling heavy that night. Natalie invited me over for dinner. She decorated. Candles. A small tree. It smelled like cinnamon and pine. You went all out, I said. I wanted it to feel special, she replied. Wailing, we ate, talked, laughed, and then, as midnight approached, she handed me a small box. Rend in silver paper. Yo, Can, what's this? I asked. Open it. Diliel inside was a keychain, a tiny silver house. Yalian, I want you to have a key, she said softly. Yoon to my place, to us, Dalian. Yo. I stared at it. Chum de Diange remained chum Indian. Then I pulled out my phone, Rokan my notes app, scrolled to September, Saint. The night I couldn't sleep. Man, the night I wrote Daliel. I wish I wasn't alone anymore. Din Daliel? I showed her. Her hand went to her mouth. Brian. You made it come true, I said. Yalian, she kissed me soft. Slow. Like we had all the time in the world. Oh, Merry Christmas, she whispered. Merry Christmas, Natalie. Daryl, y'all, that was 8 months ago. Yalian, today we're still together. Is it perfect? No. People still stare sometimes. Angmi and her friends have questions. My buddies make jokes. Kick Yaliel. But when she looks at me the way she did that Christmas Eve, none of it matters. Because love, real love, doesn't check your birth certificate first. It doesn't care about timelines, bans, or what society thinks you should want. Lael. It just finds you when you stop looking. Dience. When you're fixing a water heater at Joe PM on a Thursday. When you're just trying to survive another lonely winter. And it reminds you, Kino, that you were never meant to be alone. You just hadn't met the right person yet.